Hey guys, it's Kelly here again. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another bookish video. Today I'm going to compare Bulgarian book covers to UK and US book covers, and in some instances some of the original covers. So get ready for some book cover battles. For most of the books, I have a Bulgarian version of the cover and also the UK and US version, and for some of them I also have some other mentions of book covers, for instance if the original is from a different country or if some of the covers made an impression on me while researching them on Goodreads. The first book that I have is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. A Darker Shade of Magic centers around this world, a magical world that has 4 different versions of itself, or 4 different versions of London, and each version has a different color. So it has red London that is beaming with magic, white London that has been basically consumed a little bit by magic, and people have drained every bit of magic from it. It has black London that has all but been destroyed, and we have gray London that is completely deprived of magic. So we follow our main character, Kel. He is kind of like a wizard. He has magical abilities and he can actually travel through the different versions of London. He kind of gets into some trouble, and so our story begins. I think it's a young adult fantasy and it's really interesting. Not one of my favorites, but it is a favorite here on BookTube. So the Bulgarian cover I actually really like. I think they did a really good job with this one. They kept the aesthetic, I think, of the original books, and they still kind of made it our own. So I actually prefer this book cover to the UK and US versions. I noticed that the US version is a bit more simplistic, a bit more graphic in a way, at least the one that I found, and the UK version I really like. It's probably my second favorite for this particular book because I do love the dark shadow and the contrast with the words. The Bulgarian cover just has something a bit more magical and a bit more storytelling, at least personally for me, so I really enjoy it. I do have an honorable mention for a book cover for this book, and that is the Russian book cover that I found on Goodreads. I think it is gorgeous. I would love if I had this version, even though I can barely read Russian, but I would still really love to have this book on my shelves. It's just so pretty. The next book that I have is called Angel Maker by Nick Harkaway. Still can't figure out how to pronounce his name, so I'm sorry. This book is, I think, a fantasy steampunk book that centers around this man whose father was a clockmaker and clock repairman, and he one day repairs a clock that he's not supposed to, and it turns out that this is actually a death machine. Stuff start happening, they start chasing him, and I guess he just tries to save the world or something along those lines. So that's all I know about the book. I haven't read it yet, but judging by what I do know and judging the Bulgarian cover in this instance, I do think that it fits the book well enough. It has a steampunk element to it. It has the clock on the cover and the clock mechanisms, and it kind of alludes to time ticking by and like the death machine ticking. As for the other 2 versions of the covers, the US and the UK one, I again don't really like the US version. I think it's a bit too literal, it's a bit too graphic, and I feel like it draws a little more retro, I guess, in a graphic design aspect. If I can place it correctly, I guess it's like in the 50s and 40s, which maybe is what they were going for. Either way, it's not my favorite. The UK version is a lot prettier in my opinion. I feel like it's a bit more symbolic. It has again the spiral, maybe it has something to do with the book, I'm not sure, but it has also this bug on the cover, and I noticed that a lot of versions of this particular book cover have this bug, and I guess it has again something to do with the book. The honorable mention for this book cover is the Czech book cover, and I really like this one. I feel like it's very interesting, it grabs the eye, and it doesn't give out a lot from the book. If I saw this in the bookstore, I would definitely gravitate towards it and read the synopsis. Good job for the designer. The next book that I have is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. And this is a book I have no idea what it's about. I know that it's a sci-fi. I think it has something to do with clones, but again, I'm not sure. I've heard different things about it, but I really don't know much about it, and I kind of want to keep it that way because it sounds like it's the type of book that would be more interesting if you know very little about it. Onto the covers. The Bulgarian cover is something that just came out in the bookstores. I noticed it literally yesterday. I saw it in the bookstore and I just had to grab it. It's a book that I've wanted to read for quite some time now, and the cover is really cool. I really like it. I feel like it reminds me of Inception. Other versions of the cover, like the US and the UK one, are kind of similar. The US version is one I saw in different other countries. I guess they used more of that version of the cover, and it's just red with the black letters. It's very graphic and very bold. Again, it's really not my favorite. I don't know what I have against US covers. It's not my favorite, and I don't know why. It's just too crazy and it's too simple, and at the same time it's just too much for me. I guess I just don't like too graphic of a cover. The UK version, in my opinion, is better. I actually prefer it even to the Bulgarian one. I feel like it's, again, graphic and bold, but it's kind of mysterious. It draws the eye. It has a sort of optical illusion to it, and I really like that one. From what I saw on Goodreads though, my absolute favorite cover for this book has to be the Hungarian version. I don't know how much it has to do with the story, but I absolutely love the cover of this. I feel like it's very simple and intriguing, and it kind of draws you in. The next book I have is Genesis by Bernard Beckett, and for this book it's best if you go into it not knowing much about it. It's a sci-fi and it's kind of like a philosophical debate about what makes us human, and yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about it. It's easily one of my favorite books. It's a very short one, and if you want to read it and if sci-fi is something that you enjoy and also philosophical debates, I definitely recommend this one. I think it was about 120 pages. You can read it in a day. It was very weird researching the different book covers. Turns out it's been translated in so many different languages, and every single publisher kind of went on their own designing a cover, so there are quite a few versions for this book. So let's start with the Bulgarian one. I don't know if the Bulgarian version is my favorite. I do really like it because it has a galaxy on it and some stars, and I feel like it's very gentle, but it feels a little bit childish. Well, childish is like a big word, but it's like a teeny tiny little bit childish, and I feel like it doesn't do the book quite as much justice as it probably should. The American and the UK versions of the cover I feel like are very similar, at least the ones that I found, and the only difference is I believe the color scheme, kind of like the color intensity and the font that they use for the title. And I feel like the UK version is again a little bit nicer in my opinion. This whole video is just me bashing on US covers. But the UK version is just a bit more targeted towards me. I suppose I just gravitate a little bit more towards it, even though it's basically the same as the US one. I just like the letters better and the colors better. There are quite a few other covers, as I mentioned already. I'm just going to put on the screen a few that I found kind of creepy. Remember when I said that the Bulgarian cover draws a little bit childish? Well, in every other country, they went a little bit horror-ish, in my opinion, and there's a few that are basically the stuff of nightmares, especially this one. This is the Danish cover, if I'm not mistaken, and it is something that horrifies me. If I saw that in the bookstore, I will never pick up a book for the next 5 years probably. It's got a melting mechanical orangutan on it. It's just so creepy, and it does have something to do with the book, but at the same time I think that the other covers that I found kind of scary are the Estonian, the Norwegian, and the Israeli cover. Those are just a bit too creepy, and my main issue with two of them is that they have this giant monkey on the cover. I don't like monkeys. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it. I'm freaked out by monkeys. I don't like them. I love all animals, of course, but just monkeys are not my animal, and seeing the giant monkeys on the covers freaks me out. One that I did like was the French cover. I feel like it's very interesting and it's not something that you're going to see somewhere else. It still has an inkling of a monkey on it, but I can deal with that monkey. Another one that I really liked was the Polish version. I think it was really cool and it drew you in and it made you think of sci-fi. Next up, I have the first 15 lives of Harry August, and unfortunately I cannot find my book. I gave it to my mom so she can read it at some point, and we have seemed to lost track of it. So I only include a picture of the cover. I feel like the Bulgarian cover is very pretty. It definitely draws a little bit more young adult, which I do believe the book is targeted more young adult. It is, I think, a fantasy or more like a magical realism, something along those lines. It's about Harry August who cannot die in the same sense that we can, because every time he dies he is reborn and starts his life again from the year when he was born, but he has all of the memories of all of his past lives. So it's definitely a very interesting premise. And in terms of the Bulgarian cover, I think that the cover is beautiful, but I have no idea what it has to do with the book. I have absolutely no memory of this sand clock necklace thing being a thing in the book, so I can understand it representing time and having it be kind of a interesting and prettier way of representing time, but like again, it's very beautiful, has very little to do with the book. For the US version, at least I think that the original was the US version, we have our character holding up a frame, and in that frame we have all his past lives holding up different mirrors. I think it's a very interesting cover. I definitely see the symbolism in it. I feel like it represents, I guess, the book a bit better than the Bulgarian one. I do aesthetically prefer the Bulgarian one, but symbolically I prefer the US one. I didn't find a UK version of it. Maybe they just used the same idea with the frame and just tweaked it a little bit. I did, however, find an Estonian cover that I enjoyed. It has this, I think it's a stairway or something, and a clock and kind of like a spiral. Again, it's very symbolic and very just cool. It's cool. I like this one. Honestly, I did not think I had this many books to compare, so I'm gonna leave this video here. I'm going to split it into two, so maybe next week or the week after that I'll upload a volume 2 of comparing book covers. Otherwise, this video is gonna be like 20 minutes long and I kind of want to keep them a bit shorter. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think about the Bulgarian covers and which ones do you prefer between the UK, US, and other versions of the covers. If you have a version of yours that you actually really enjoy, link it down in the comment section below, and I would love to see and compare some more book covers. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!